Yo, what's up, guys? It is Tuesday, the 23rd, and what a crazy few days we've been dealing with. Man, last week was in Utah. At a conference with some heavy duty people, some hard hitting business folks. Had that great opportunity to have dinner with Tim Ballard and his team. Also, spend a day with them in a large group talking about their cause and where they're headed. And they're out of the country again right now. Awesome to see that group put together enough capital in 10 minutes to be able to fund two of their operations. And then from what I understand, other people pulled them aside and they've reached out to me and kind of targeted through me how they are now basically they I think probably put together enough funds to fund another couple of them. So some amazing stuff going on there in how that touched folks. And I think it's pretty dang cool to see their cause get some traction, especially with some of the things that they've experienced in the last year when you're talking about the new administration, politics, and how that's playing into this thing where it really I can't fathom in my brain why it does, but apparently it does. So as far as where we're at in the market today, well, the other thing we're dealing with last week has to do with this announcement that Fannie and Freddie came out with that the U.S. Treasury is indicating and demanding that they should follow, and that has also trickled into us a little bit more. Well, now we have been told we have to meet this 7% if we're going to sell to Fannie and Freddie. We're doing a lot to Fannie and Freddie, so we're having to readjust who we deal with. So a lot of scramble in the background, a lot of negotiating of things, trying to get back that competitive edge as far as the pricing is concerned, comparatively speaking, right? Because the bonds have been, when you just look at the market as a whole, not including this, it's taken quite the beating, right? We've seen price increases in housing, significant price increases in housing, which has caused affordability. Plus, we got now rising interest rates, and that's on all sectors. And we're 108 consecutive months of price increases. We've got cost increases when it comes to lumber. You got cost increases when it comes to other materials, just all the way around. Right. From what I'm understanding, some news are coming out this morning. The home builders are trying to taper things back because their margins are getting squeezed. So all the way around, the market's getting hit pretty dang hard. Right. And I've had a handful of people even ask us, well, why didn't you lock us earlier if you knew this was coming? We didn't know it was coming, guys. We had no idea it was coming. In fact, I even had some realtors ask me, like, well, I talked to my internal broker and they said they knew rates were rising. There was a difference between what was happening in the owner occupieds and what's going on with the investors. I'm working with investors, so I'm not seeing the difference there that they may have been seeing. And yes, we did see that movement. We talked about that before when it came to the owner occupied stuff much earlier than in the investor stuff. This investor stuff was heavily affected by what was going on in the background with Fannie and Freddie. It didn't come out till later as to why that was being affected, even though we didn't see the movement in the market and why interest rates were making those moves. So we talked about that quite a bit. And so for that comment, I thought it rather interesting. That would be like me contacting a realtor and asking, why didn't you notify me, 6 months ago that prices were going to rise on these homes where I'm going to have to pay $30,000 over list price? Because they wouldn't have known, but yet I'd be blaming them just as much. And it's just as crazy to blame them as people are trying to blame the lenders for not knowing the rates were going to do this. But we're also seeing that that the market itself appears, and I know we've talked about before, to possibly found a bottom. I don't know, but let's take a look at the bonds and we can kind of see where that sits. Now, we broke this other bottom that we thought we had formed, and it hit hard. These gap down opens, which climbs back up, but then settles in the middle of it. Got these situations here. We had just a lot of market movement, but then just stayed in its open spot. This was 2 days ago. We saw on March 2 trading days ago, March 19th, where you saw a lot of negative breaking through floors again. And then yesterday and today, looks like we maybe a floor or forming a new channel. We're hitting resistance here. We're hitting the 10-day moving average. It's having a hard time breaking through that. I don't know if we're gonna get to a point where we get above these averages. Hopefully we do. But we at least hit a point here where it looks like we possibly have formed a bottom going into a sideways channel, and maybe even coming back. But right now, the one thing I want to continue to reiterate over and over and over again, I'm going to keep reiterating this, is when these rates go up, the people who are rate investors, opportunivores, not real investors, they go away. If it's interest rate driven and it's not going to work for you because of the rate, then just because, I mean, you're still going to cash flow, but not the amount that you thought you were going to get, and you want to walk away from it, then walk away. Then let somebody else step into that and take that inventory because they're an investor. And the people who take the inventory know that it's not about year one, it's not about year two, it's 3, 4, 5, 10, 12. That's where the real wealth comes. If you think you're going to get rich on year one as a real estate investor, buying turnkey properties for 30-year fixed loans, you've missed the entire argument, you've missed the entire concept, you missed everything about it. So if that's the case, step aside, let the people who want the inventory, who are going to become wealthy with the inventory, go ahead and get into it. But know that this is separating those out that are not true investors. Those of you who are willing to accept the fact rates move, because we've talked about it more often, quite a bit. We were happy when it was low, but for right now, it's going up a bit and it's still phenomenally low. Take advantage of the opportunity that others are getting out of the way so you can get further up in the line to take those properties. We'll talk again on Friday. I'll give you a heads up on where we're at, but things are looking very, very positive for us with the relationships we're continuing to expand into that we've always had. We just didn't use them as we needed to before. Now we have to. So it's actually going to create better opportunity for all of us. Talk to you again soon.